It's Kelly from Cards by Christine here with you on a Technique Thursday to share with you the Scrappy strip technique. So, show off this beautiful card. And major props right off the bat to Arlys from Neillsville, Wisconsin. She made this card and she sent me all of these supplies with instructions on how to create this technique. And I went back and I had intended to do the Scrappy strip technique, probably a while ago, like over a year ago. It was very, very popular, and it's been very popular. And I intended to do it, and I must have never done it. So I went back to reference, because sometimes I do to some degree repeat a technique after quite a while. Just kind of give it a nice refresh, make a brand new card based on the technique. So I was going to make sure that I was utilizing the same language and the same kind of steps to do it, and I must have never done it. So I am so excited to show this off. I love the technique, and I'm excited to go through how to do it with you. So let's get started. So this is the sample card that she sent to me. We're going to use these beautiful pieces that she sent and cut, but I'm going to start by taking you through how to actually do it. Excuse me, I need some more coffee. Okay, so I don't have a piece of DSP. You don't actually need to use DSP. You can absolutely use colored strips of paper. It's a great technique to use up a bunch of scraps. But if you want to do like a DSP background like this, or a monotone, well, not necessarily monotone, but like a single type of paper, start with a sheet that's larger than your project. So a card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So you want the piece to be larger than that. So I'm starting with a piece that's probably about 5 by 6 or something similar. And we're going to go ahead and cut it at diagonal strips. I'll show you what that means in just a second. I'm using the mini like guillotine style cutter. However, you can use your just paper trimmer or any type of straight cutting device that you have. So the first thing you're going to do is take your paper and you're going to cut it at a diagonal. I'm going to make it a little more obvious. Cut it at a diagonal and then keep feeding it through and keep cutting it at opposite diagonals, or not necessarily opposite diagonals, but consistent diagonals. The more sorry, I was just straightening off the end there. The more drastic of a look, like if you're looking for more drastic channels between your paper, the larger the diagonal you want to do. So, the first time you do this technique, you probably to some degree want to experiment. And there really is no right or wrong by any means. So, whatever you do, and if you make a strip that you don't love, you don't need to use it, because you will have extra here. If you start with a larger sheet of paper, you will have some extras in case you get a segment of paper that you don't like, or make a cut that's maybe too fat on one end and too skinny on the other, or all of the above. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep shoving my paper through and keep trimming down pieces until I reach the end. If you're using a guillotine style cutter like this, I have taken the guard off. So as you get closer to the end, you need to be very careful not to trim your finger. Word for the wise. Okay, so now you have all of these strips. And what we're going to do, and I think at this point I'm going to move away from my soft suede and go to my beautiful paper and my pieces that Arlys sent to me. But essentially here you have, I can like basically piece it all back together to make it look like the piece of paper, but you've got it all cut. And now you just need to arrange it. So once you have the strips cut, at this point I'm moving over to my pink paper, my DSP. You're going to take a piece of paper. Now this is going to be the background. So you can see here, you adhere the strips to a solid sheet of paper. So this is a mat. I'm assuming it's at about 3 3/4 by 5. Yeah. But you want to have your mat start larger than it's going to finish, because you're going to use it to kind of put your paper on, and then because some of the edges are going to hang out one way versus the other, you're going to trim it down. So I'm going to start with my paper, and we're just going to start randomly gluing. There's no right or wrong to any of this. So I'm just going to start on one end with it flush to the edge. Again, that'll likely get trimmed off, but it'll give me a good starting point. And then you can see here I have the fatter portion on the bottom, so this time I'm going to put the fatter end towards the top. And then at this point is when you're going to kind of dictate how large your channels in between your paper are. And you're going to want to try to stay kind of consistent with that. Or at least I should say I am going to try to stay kind of consistent with that. This is your beautiful work of art. You can, if you want varying size channels in between your paper strips, then more power to you. So we're going to glue down each individual strip. And in prepping, I did kind of lay my strips out. I didn't put any time or effort into making a pattern out of them. The only thing I did was alternate where the fat bottoms were. I don't really know if that's what it's called or what I should be calling it, but that is what I'm doing. Alright, so let's go ahead and keep gluing. Running low on glue here. Going to need a new one soon. So obviously here, the DSP is really the focal for this card. However, I have seen, if you just look up the Scrappy strip technique, you'll see a lot of variety of cards that people have made using it. I've seen really cool cards where it's just colored cardstock, and then it's featuring a beautiful color scheme. So like maybe some of the regal colors for a fall themed card, or some really cool colors for a snowflake card. Actually, I saw one that featured Misty Moonlight and a bunch of cool grays and blues that was for a lighthouse card. So beautiful. I loved it. I wanted to case it. I might still yet. And the thing that was really cool about that card was, so she made this Scrappy strip background that we're working on right now. And like I said, it was with cool blues and grays. And then she went ahead and made this into a frame. So die cut a rectangle out of the middle, and this was just a frame around the outside of the card. So cool. I loved it. and my family very much enjoys going to Door County, Wisconsin, which has a lot of lighthouses. It's the peninsula of our state. Beautiful, beautiful. So it brought back some really great memories and gave me the itch to go back to Door County. Maybe that's why I loved it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna get about 1 or 2 more strips on here. And then other cool things that I have seen with the Scrappy strip technique, like alternating paper. So every other strip would be a different pattern. So pink and then, I don't know, orange, pink, orange, pink, orange. Very, very cool. I really liked how that turned out too. So many cool things that you can do with this technique. But I'm just giving you the baseline, and I'm gonna let your creativity inspire you to make something beautiful. So I'm gonna move these pieces out of the way. Oopsies, I should have put my silicone mat under there. Ha, ha, ha. All right, let's get some glue off the surface here. So now, this is the card base that Arlys sent. So we're going to use a standard card base, polished pink we've got here. It's 8.5 by 5.5. Ooh, yeah. 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4.25. Sorry, brain fart right there. And then we're going to go ahead and trim this down. I'm not gonna do a double mat on this one. So that means I'm gonna trim this down to 4 by 5.25. So I'm gonna bring my little guillotine back in. And this is where I'm gonna start on that flat edge that I started with. And you know what? This is probably not big enough for this. Okay, so we've got one cut. And then I can cut the other end too, but then I'm gonna need to bring in my bigger trimmer to make the 5.25 cut. Okay. That's looking beautiful. Okay. So here we lay it at 5.25. And we'll go ahead and just trim that down. All right, so here's our mat. Okay, then I'm going to glue this down. And typically I don't go through a card start to finish with you for a technique because, I mean, at this point we've finished the technique, but I want to show off to Arlys how beautiful this card turns out. And I've got some good ideas floating around, so let's do it. Bear with me. This video will be a little longer than our typical Technique Thursday. Okay, so let's let that dry just a little bit. So she used beautiful ornate dies and a small happy birthday sentiment. And I love what she did here by popping up just one side of that. That's really cool. I am going to make this a thank you card. I went back to, so this is the Artistic Expressions suite. And the paper here comes from that. I'm trying to find what it's actually called. Oh my goodness. Expressions in Ink, I think is what it's called. Designer series paper. And it's a specialty designer series paper because it's got the gold on it. And then it coordinates with the artistically inked stamps and artistically inked dies. Sorry, the artistic dies. So I went and pulled them. I don't think I'm going to use any of the dies for this. We'll see. But I want to use this thanks. So I have a strip here of basic white, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment on it in polished pink. And then you know, I didn't even bring any embellishments over here. Oh boy. Let's see. Maybe we don't need them. All right. So I've got a vision in my head. We'll see how it all comes together. But what I'm intending to do here is trim down the end at a diagonal. I'll bring in my paper scissors. And put that over here. And I'm going to grab my tear and tape. Okay. And some gold ribbon. This is the shimmer ribbon in gold, of course. Oh, and that, I have plenty of tear and tape. I don't need all of that. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the lamb technique on the bottom. Surprise, surprise, right? All right, maybe one more. Actually, I'm gonna cut it like this. And then we're gonna make a tear and tape sandwich. And bring in our dimensionals. Let's see here. Looks as though we've got little ones to work with today. So we're gonna layer them up. All right, we're gonna see if we can pull this card off without embellishments. Obviously, I can go get them if I need them. Okay, so that's gonna go here. And then I also have the Infura pack, ephemera pack. That word is so difficult for me. And this bundle of leaves was from the dies, which now I'm thinking maybe I want to use that. Oh my goodness gracious. I think that's my answer. The other thing I was thinking was these hexagons, but they're not big enough. So absolutely 100% positively using, this was from the Artistic Dies and it's die cut in gold, and wow, that is exactly what I need to finish this card. So let's pull this over here. I'm going to put a little adhesive on it. I think I had it about there. And I'm going to trim this down. Oops, where did I put? Okay, so let's get this trimmed down before I make too much of a mess of everything. Okay. And then a little bit of adhesive behind this. And we've just about got a completed card here. Alrighty. Okay, lift off the dimensional backs. And then place your sentiment. And last but certainly not least, we will have to trim off the little bit of excess from the die. Which I'm going to use my glue scissors. And then we're done. All right, what do you think? I love the beautiful gold in this paper. It really accentuates the alcohol ink imagery on the paper, and it really gives it a very grand look. So here is the sample card that was sent and the card that we created today. So if this has inspired you to create something using the Scrappy strip technique, please, we would love to see it. Share it in the comments. And if you have any thoughts or ideas like Arlys did about techniques that you'd like to see, let us know. We love to know when we're inspiring you and what you're making and what you would like to learn how to do. So I hope you have a wonderful Technique Thursday, and you can catch Chris later tonight for some live card making.